Welcome to Tips Over Tea. This is season 2. I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to have great conversations with some amazing people. And I have the opportunity to hang out with you guys again, my guests. Make sure you have your tea, whether it be hot or cold, for the Tips Over Tea. And make sure you have your notebook so you can take plenty of notes. And if you're so inclined, bring a friend or two to join you. For now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tips Over Tea. I am so excited to have Kathy on the show today, guys. This is going to be a very interesting conversation because it's not something that you really hear spoken about anymore, which is why it's so important to get her on the show. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining me on Tips Over Tea today.
Nicole, it's a pleasure to be here. So excited to see you. And thanks for having me.
Of course, absolutely. So I want you to share, because what you do is you help caregivers and you yourself help the wise seasoned generation age gracefully in place. So can you explain a little bit about, one, how you got started in that, and what does that mean exactly for those caregivers out there who need you?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So my background is physical therapy. I started as a physical therapy assistant. I'm certified as a fall prevention specialist. I'm also a brain injury specialist and a lymphedema therapist. So from that background, I was finding that a lot of my patients were rounding back to me very often after we got them healthy and on their way and they discharged successfully, that we would see them back anywhere between 3 and 6 months, rounding back to us for some of the same conditions that they had started coming in with. Not all, but a lot of, or some of those conditions, or what they might have been admitted for the second time around, had something to do with the first condition. So again, we would rehab them successfully, get them on their feet. They'd go out in the community, be successful for a while. And then unfortunately, some of them would round back, multiple times. So it got me thinking, like it was getting frustrating for me, because here we did such a good job. Like, how can we help them continue what they're doing so well with the help at a rehab? And how do we keep them well so they, sometimes things happen, obviously, but a lot of the times it was still, they were just getting deconditioned. They were going back to old habits, like whatever the reason was, they were just starting to find themselves coming back in. From that thinking, I then was in a couple personal situations where I was taking care of family members, and having similar situations and being on the other side as the caregiver, knowing what I know, I was finding that I was still having trouble navigating the healthcare system, talking to doctors who some weren't listening to what we were saying. Some were, kind of, or over medicating, or, like it was just kind of, family members that didn't really get what was happening, and they were some were trying to be helpful, some were just poo-pooing ideas, so I found it very frustrating being on the other end of that, right? So it gave me a big perspective of kind of what happens after therapy leaves, and then, what's going on in the home life. So from that, I felt like there needed to be something to be done. So I created my company to fill in those gaps where, either before physical therapy is needed or after physical therapy has discharged, to kind of help people keep going or stay well enough to stay out of the medical system as long as possible. And I'm not talking about wellness visits, because obviously wellness visits are very important, as well as screenings and, the part that helps keep you healthy. But there needed to be something in addition. And a lot of people were starting to use physical therapy as exercise because people are resourceful. Joining a gym sometimes is expensive. They didn't want the gym atmosphere, but they knew they needed some type of exercise program. They wanted accountability. And, as therapists, we spend a lot of time with people. When they're going through, we learn a lot about them. We try to, we establish trust. We look at the kind of the bigger picture of what's happening. It's not just about exercises. And I want to make this very, very clear to your audience. Like, therapy is not just about exercise. I'll give you an example. I had a friend who broke her pelvis in a skiing accident, and her doctor told her not to do physical therapy, which was, I heard this, and I, of course, me being me, grabbed all my equipment, threw everything in the truck, ran up, because my poor friend couldn't get in and out of her bed, couldn't even get up to her bed, which was on the second floor, couldn't get off the toilet, couldn't get out of her chair, and these are all things that therapy does. We allow people to have that good functional mobility as well as doing the strengthening, because yes, of course we do the exercises, but I was just like, I was stunned that a doctor would think she didn't need it, and I think this is a kind of a misconception about what therapy is, as well as doctors that are prescribing therapy. I think they're at a loss for who else to go to help get our older adults that are becoming deconditioned and sedentary to get stronger. And yes, physical therapy is definitely a place to do that. But if you could do it at with a personal trainer somewhere, why not do that? It might cost a little bit more money, but in the long run, you're saving it because you're not in the healthcare system and, expending more. So that's kind of why I started the company and how we got here. A lot of times as therapists, we get asked by our patients, do you do this privately? Right. And a lot of us don't, because it's a whole liability issue. Right. And we'd love to, but how do we do it? So I've created an environment that if people want to do that on the side, that they can join my team as a subcontractor, and we can do that. And I think with what we call the silver tsunami that's happening to us right now, and if people are unfamiliar with that, I have a statistic, if you don't mind me throwing some stats in there. Every day, let's see, what did I just read? We will add a net of 22 million seniors to our population by the end of this decade. There was another stat that I read that, like, I think it's like 10,000 people are turning 75 every day.
Wow.
And it's not just for like this next year, this is for like the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So our older adult population is becoming more older adults than we have kids under 14. Part of the reason why maternity wards are closing and more general hospital rooms are coming up, because of this surge of people that are going to be needing healthcare is going to be pretty astronomical pretty soon. Along with that, we have a very scary public health concern about falling. And I want to make this very clear. Falls are not a normal part of aging. Absolutely not. They're kind of a precursor of other things happening. And so if your audience is thinking, I literally had a client today said, oh, I'm just getting older. It's, I started to fall. And I'm like, no, like this is not, it's not the truth. Yeah. And muscles know no age unless they're something neurological is going on or there's an injury. Muscles really know no age. And I will tell you, I have rehabbed 102-year-olds. And they've gotten stronger and better just by doing some simple exercises. So that is, so with that statistic, with these falls becoming such a public health concern, 1 out of 4 falls in an older adult over 65, 1 out of 4 people every year is falling. Pretty significant, right?
Yeah.
That means 3 million ER visits, 800,000 hospitalizations, and 30,000 deaths that may have been able to be prevented.
Yeah.
So I feel that it's kind of my mission to try to reverse this. Let's see
Yeah.
what we can do, because it it is just a few simple exercises that everybody can do every day. And I'm not talking like going to the gym for 30 minutes and working out. Like if that's your thing, great, but it doesn't even have to be, that intensive.
Mhm.
I'm finding that if I go in twice a month, it's people are improving. And these are community dwelling people that have just wanted to do something a little bit more to keep them going. They're improving with just, 2 visits a month. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Um, what I don't know if you want me to get into kind of how we do things. Like if you want more stats, I've got those.
Well, I just want to I one, that's a really good tip and thing to keep in mind, especially for those who are around our age and starting to take care of our parents, or a little bit older than us, and they are taking care of their parents, is that falling is not, and that's not because that's not a normal sign of, I mean, that's not aging. It's not because you're aging, it's because something else is going on.
Yeah.
And it's what's significant about that, because I've learned a long time ago too that a lot of falls lead to hospitalization, which leads to death, and that's probably one of the most preventable forms of fatality that we can address. So I appreciate that you like really reiterated that um, falls are not normal. Just like they say, like,
Yeah.
not to be honest with you, they say menopause is normal, and 20 years ago there was no such thing. But
Hmm.
that's a whole other conversation. That's
Oh yes, I'll be interested to have that one.
probably more than 20 years. But there was a point in our history where it was not a normal thing. We did not
Yeah.
experience that.
Yeah.
So also, and also this disease in general, like that is not our normal state just because we're aging. So I appreciate that you pointed that out so that people can start to take notice if
Yeah.
they are um, noticing themselves getting a little weak and possibly catching themselves in a fall. Maybe they can reach out to you before it becomes a thing. And then
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, and
So that I want to make a
yeah,
point too. So
yeah,
those are statistics that we know about, right?
right, right.
So y- just this morning there was a stat that said one senior basically falls every second, right?
Mhm,
That is reported every 11 seconds.
mhm,
What we don't know about are the 10 others that aren't
mhm,
reported. So we have this huge public health concern with these numbers that we know about. We don't even know how big this health concern is.
yeah.
And so for people, for caregivers that are taking care of their loved one, the best thing that you can do is keep your people moving, keeping them
Right.
mobile, keeping them um not sedentary. I mean, I know it's hard that a lot of times if people are unsafe while they're moving, it's easier to kind of, if they want to watch TV, just kind of let them watch TV.
Mhm,
But getting them out in the community, going to senior centers and council on agings and other resources that are available helps them stay strong.
mhm, mhm,
Loneliness is now up there with cardiac disease on
mhm.
loneliness, depression. Like
Yeah.
it's a major problem right now, and it's not just from COVID. It's just because, I mean, COVID probably started a lot of it, but then people got used to being sedentary,
Mhm,
and we all want to stay in our own home, right?
mhm,
But if we stay in our own home and we don't let people come in to help us, that's a problem. Now we're being lonely if we're eating by ourselves, if we're watching TV by ourselves, so I have 3 things that I like people to do. There's a activity, a chore, and a social every day, right?
mhm,
Because
mhm,
just like you were saying, about your menopause fact, like we didn't have this a few years ago. I want your audience to think about, like, our grandparents, how many of them had shoulder issues,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
Because we were hanging clothes and doing all the hard work and doing stuff out,
mhm,
so we've made life really easy on us, right? But at the same time, some of the work that we were doing, especially as we got older, it helped us stay in great shape.
yeah.
I remember my grandmother, I used to always laugh because I lived in upstate New York, and she would go out on her steps and start sweeping the snow off. And I was like, why the heck is she sweeping? Why wouldn't she use a shovel? But whatever, it didn't really matter because she
Yeah,
was staying in really great shape doing that at like 90 years old. So awesome,
yeah, yeah. Um, another I love those three. We'll have to say that again. But another thing that I hadn't really thought about until you mentioned it was that PT, physical therapy, is not just exercise, it also helps with mobility. I knew that just because I had to go through PT for mobility issues before when I was active duty, but I hadn't really thought about it, and I hadn't really thought about it from a doctor's perspective. So if you have a doctor hesitant to sending you to PT, you may just want to question that. Maybe just reach out to Kathy, do a kind of phone consult.
Yeah, because we get into so many. I mean, we do cognition, we do, there is so many aspects to physical therapy, occupational therapy,
Mhm,
speech therapy, so many, and we all the disciplines like to work together,
mhm,
and really see what the bigger picture is. But we take, like, unfortunately, insurance has stopped some of like our home evaluations where we go in and check out how safe the home is and stuff like that. Some companies are still doing that on their own because they think it's so important. It is something that we can do. We want to make sure that this home is safe. So, like, if some of the falls are happening because of home modifications that are needed,
mhm,
like sometimes a simple grab bar can change the world on a set of stairs.
mhm. Yeah,
People do tend to think we just walk right in and pull up all the scatter rugs. That's not necessarily the case, but if that beautiful scatter rug is going to throw you to the floor a few times, that might not be the best idea to have it. But it's like tend to, as therapy tends to think outside the box quite a
Mhm,
bit because we want to keep people moving, we want to keep people mobile, we want to keep people as independent as they possibly can.
mhm.
We don't like people sitting. We don't like people stuck in bed. Because even in bed you can be mobile and moving and stuff. So and just getting up to sitting and
Yeah,
those are all great ways to stay strong, depending on your level, right?
yeah.
So as caregivers, we have some very loving, caring caregivers that sometimes want to do more than they need to do, which creates a burden on them, and then no self-purpose,
Mhm.
which is a whole nother show we can get into, as self-purpose, right? But it kind of diminishes the self-purpose of the person they're caring for, and that's a slippery slope too,
Yeah,
because you want that feeling of,
autonomy, yeah.
mhm, for sure, that you're important, that you're taking care of people, and yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant from the elders. So, and
Mhm.
especially
Well, that too, on both
yeah,
sides of it, right?
yeah,
You want to feel like you're doing a good job as a caregiver, but you also want to feel like, as the person being cared for, that you have something to give back to that caregiver.
mhm.
Whether it's love, it could just be as simple as love, that caregiver needs to feel that love and compassion because they're doing, so.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, so you have two businesses. So the
Mhm.
first one is like what we were just talking about, where you and a team and or a team of people help um, caregivers and or the elderly themselves to just be able to age in place, which is just help them strengthen themselves so that they are able to better take care of themselves, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and
So
then
successfully aging in place for sure.
yeah, and then
Y
you're launching a new business, or
Yeah.
you've been doing it and you're just like, this is the official launch. Like, tell me about it because it's like travel or something, but it's still,
Yes.
yeah. Tell me, tell
And
me.
and you know how long this journey has been for
Yes,
me.
I
So
do.
as I'm developing, like, the personal training, we also have like a year-long program that's like, we kind of are more aging in place concierge, where we have people think more about just the fitness. Because there's so many, like, I hate to say it, but funeral planning, financial planning, tax planning, Even if something happens, if you do go in the hospital, like who's going to take care of your pet? Like what are your, if things start to go and you need help with like medications or grocery shopping, like who are you leaning on for those things? Because we don't really think about that. We think financial planning, great, we're going to retire, we're golden. Yeah, well, there's a whole long line of time after that we have to plan for, right? That we don't necessarily take into consideration. So we kind of look at the huge big picture from now until death. Not a lot of fun talking about that stuff, but it's better to talk about it now before it becomes a crisis. And you have to be forced into situations. As far as your caregivers, like, having that crisis, like, hey, somebody had a fall, now you have to take care of them for the rest of their lives. And, like your 25-year-old granddaughter now just inherited someone to take care. Like that's a kind of a big burden and a big shock, like you have nothing to plan for. And the hospital says, okay, we'll give you 2 to 3 weeks to figure that out. So let us know. So we try to hit all the dots. We don't necessarily make the plans, but we start the conversations that need to start happening. Right. So that's kind of what that agent. So from that whole thing, as you know, I was going down a virtual road of how do I do this virtually, with that same idea. Like I really like the whole concierge idea, but then I was like, I'm not even putting my money where my mouth is, because I'm getting people more mobile. I'm wanting them to move, but they want to travel, right? They want to travel. So I've molded the concierge program into getting people ready to go travel. And then I'm also an accessibility travel advisor. So I can book their travel and make, kind of ensure their vacation is going to be what they need it to be, to totally enjoy it, have fun, and get out in the world, because why not? Let's do that bucket list travel, right? So that's super exciting coming down the road. Just about to launch that. And
I appreciate that, because I never, especially the accessibility piece. For one, booking travel just is exhausting. It could take a while just digging through, looking for a destination, deciding what to do at the destination. But the accessibility piece is important too. Like some places may not have all the accommodations that you may need, and how do you work your way around that? How do you navigate that and stuff like that? So the fact that you know how to work through all that is, I'm sure, can relieve a lot of stress for some people, and because they may be preventing themselves from traveling because they may not recognize that there are accessibility options for them. So
right. And we take it into consideration, like even, just even going to like a family gathering, like how many times people don't go because they know they can't get up the stairs in the home, they can't get on and off the toilet, just simple tasks that we all kind of take for granted until we don't have it anymore. And, and just being exhausted, like just if you're not used to being out in the community and all of a sudden you go to a family gathering and you're there for 6 hours, you can barely get down the stairs to get into the car on the way home with, so it's just kind of getting people ready, to do more. Like we're getting them in shape. They're getting better, and why not go have a little more fun, right?
I like it.
So I have some key tips if you don't mind me leaving with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So mobility is key. Getting up and moving is key. No matter how you walk, roll, however you need to do it, you need to get up and move and just keep moving, keeping active, right? Basic body mechanics is what I'm finding is really lacking with a lot of our clients, that we don't remember how we learned to walk, right? Because we were little toddlers, but a lot of those techniques have been lost throughout the years because we've been strong enough to kind of keep our bodies in place. But once that strength goes down a little. And some of the reason the strength leaves us is because our posture is bad, our body mechanics, our base of support is narrowing because our inner thigh muscles are tighter than our outer, or stronger than our outer ones, so they tend to bring us in a little closer with our feet. Tell all your doctors all your supplements and medications, right? Medications are causing falls. If you're not telling everybody what you're on, those interactions can cause some problems. And tell your doctors if you're feeling like you're having dizziness or things, because sometimes, the doctor told me to take it, I'll just keep taking it. So no, it's all those are red flags. Home modifications, as we talked about, and then community resources. Be motivated and responsible to keep yourselves in shape, because right now you have a public duty for all of us to keep those costs down. That $50 billion plus that's spent every year on falling could be somewhere else going to good, right? Be honest with yourself and don't think about what I used to do 20 years ago. Think about what I can do now and just get the help you need to get going again. And interdependence. It's not about being independent. None of us are, well, I won't say none of us. Maybe some of your viewers can make their own clothes, cook their own, grow their own food, do everything. But a lot of us are going to the grocery store. And so it's really interdependent, right?
Yeah.
So again, and those are my tips and tricks for aging successfully.
I like it. But what I also like about it is the younger populations, if they are listening, they could start earlier. You can even work with them. Like it's still
For sure.
Right? Like just
we definitely do caregiver trainings too, for sure.
Yep. So it's just something to think about in preparation, because at some point we will be the seniors, and having that knowledge earlier is even better. But also just knowing that Kathy's there to help you.
We do it. I actually just signed up at I'm old enough that I am a senior, apparently.
Oh yeah.
I was able to sign up at one of the senior or the Council on Agings near me. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm in it.
Here we go. Well, good. That'll just you're a living, walking testimony to what you're teaching. So it'll be even easier, more compelling, because they're like, okay, I have no more excuse. Like you and Armin have no excuse. These two are the epitome. Anybody who's seen the show, we talked to him a few shows ago, but you guys, they are definitely the inspiration for aging beautifully.
Armin's off the charts, man. Like he's just so good. Yeah, for sure. But that's it. But it's not about doing it on your own, right?
Yeah.
It's not about, we don't do this solo. We do it with the help of other people. And I had a shoulder injury. I thought I could rehab myself. No, I can't. I had to go get professional help. Just get the help. Like we do it together. It's way more fun to do it together. For sure.
Absolutely. I love it. Do you have any like programs or anything that are coming up, workshops or anything like that you have?
Yeah, we're kind of more on a local level right now. We do have balance classes that we do at Council on Aging's. We're at one of the Ys near me, YMCA. We were offered a grant for it's called Hey Moxie Caregiver Connections, which actually you can tune in on Facebook Live if you go to our website or our Facebook page. Should be, and you could tune into that. We encourage caregivers and their loved ones to attend either in person or virtually. And we're a little different than a regular support group. We offer therapy-based strategies and solutions to kind of obstacles, and offer so it improves quality of life. Like this is really what we want. We want the caregivers to have joint protection and have the support they need. We want the caregivers or the loved ones to feel supported, self-purpose, all that. So we kind of give tips and tricks on that. So that would be kind of cool if anybody wants to join in on that.
Yeah.
That is at different council on agings. We try to post events on our Facebook page to let people know where we're going to be. We're doing another Vital Connections Fall Prevention Panel discussion. That's we go to local COAs, but we can do that virtually as well, where it's us and other people from the community, public health nurse, COA director, that kind of thing, to talk about fall prevention and a few more things. Like we've got a, me, I've got a lot of things sticks in the fire right now. Not much sleep, but it sticks in the fire, right?
And she says near her, so that's Minnesota, right? Where are you
Massachusetts.
at? Massachusetts. I was thinking. I was about to say Boston.
I know you know.
I do, because I just drove up there a couple of months ago. I was like, we're in Minnesota. I must have been talking to somebody recently. It was a young lady I was talking to earlier today. She's in Minnesota, but
you might need to go to Minnesota now.
Nope, because she was saying the other day it was snowing there. I'm good right now. I need to go to I need to go to Massachusetts. That's what I need to go.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was such a blast. I always love talking to you, and if I can help any of your viewers, love to see it.
Yeah, that's why I want to make sure that people get to see you and know you and meet you. And I have your information in the description. So I want to thank you also for taking the time to just share your vast knowledge in such a short period of time, but such great things to take away. So thank you for that.
Anytime.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. This has been another beautiful episode in Conversation Tips Over Tea. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Ciao for now.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hope you enjoyed the show and got a lot of good information. Be sure to like, subscribe, tap the bell so you know when we air again. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Enjoy the rest of your week.